Hi everyone joining late on the recording. I'm Miranda Debenham. I'm the producer at Theatre Deli Sheffield. I'm a white woman in her 30s with asymmetric, dirty blue hair. We've just spoken about what the Social Model and War Festival is, and I'm just now going to talk about what we are offering people that we programme. So as I was just saying, the biggest thing that we're offering is a £2,000 fee for each show or performance that we programme. So that's for a company or an individual who are presenting a show rather than per individual involved in that show. We're also offering a full day in the venue, whether that's London or Sheffield, to do your get-in, and then with a performance in the evening of that day. The performance will be for an in-person audience, and then we will also be live streaming, so there'll be an online audience as well. But you don't have to organise that yourselves, we'll help you with live streaming. We'll also offer you tech support from a venue technician. So that'll be support with your get-in and with getting your show set up, but it won't include what's called operating your show, which means pushing the buttons while it happens. We can do that, but we need to talk about an additional fee for doing that. We're also offering discounted rehearsal space in either venue, depending on which is nearest and most convenient for you. And we also have, and I personally am quite excited about this, a pot of access support funding of up to £1,000 per show, performance, company, however you want to refer to it. So that, for example, could be used to pay for support workers or for access related travel, for interpreters, if that's relevant for people in your group, or for anything else that is an access cost associated with making this show or performance. And then we will also ourselves be offering support to make your show accessible. We're not expecting everybody that we programme to be experts in accessibility, especially since that's such a broad area, but we will help you to try and make your show accessible as much as we can. I'm going to move on now to how to apply. And I'm going to talk you through a template for the application process. This is a resource that we'll share again in the email at the end. So please don't feel that you have to take copious notes of what I'm saying. You'll have time to look through it afterwards. On the top level, the application process is open now, and the closing date is Tuesday, the 9th of May at 11 p.m. So you've got about a month in which to apply. It's a fairly simple application form with two sections, one of which is for your contact details and one of which is for information about the show. And there are 3 long form questions within that. By long form, I mean up to 200 words, so not essay length, just a paragraph or 2. And those 3 questions are, in 200 words or less, please tell us about your show. How will your show reflect the themes and the provocations of the festival? And how will your show be accessible for audiences? So that's all that we're asking as part of the application process. And we're hoping that that will make it easy for people to engage with, and also mean that you're not having to spend hours of your time unpaid working on an application form for a festival like this. We're very aware of the amount of time that people put into this kind of application, and we want to make it as easy for you as possible. I'm now going to screen share to show you the template that we've prepared to help you with your application. If you have trouble with watching screen shares, oh, thanks, Esther, making me the host. If you have trouble with watching screen shares, please get in touch with me afterwards, and I can find another way to share this template with you. And again, the document will be shared with you separately in an email afterwards. So please hold for 1 sec whilst I share my screen. Okay. Good, Esther, could you give me a thumbs up if you can see this document? Brilliant. Okay. Hopefully this font size is large enough for people. If it's not, please message Esther and she can tell me. So this is a template that replicates the online application form. The questions are exactly the same, but it intends to give you a little bit of information about the purpose of each question and the kind of information that we're looking for in the answer. I've tried to explain everything in simple language as much as possible. But again, if there's anything that you find confusing or you don't know what I've meant, please get in touch with me and I will try and explain it better. So the template shows you the first section, which is contact details. So this is your name, your email, or the email that you would like us to contact, and your phone number. And it does clarify that if you don't use a phone for communication, you can just enter NA, and that's not a problem. We then have a section about production details. So this starts with some short form questions. So the production company name, if there is a name of your group or theatre company. You don't have to have one, you can enter NA if you're an individual or if you're not applying on behalf of a group. We ask for title, if you have a title of your show already. And again, you don't have to have this. We know that some people will be applying with work that's very early stage, and it's absolutely fine not to know your title at this point. We then get on to our first longer form answer, or question, I guess, which is in 200 words or less, please tell us about your show. So I'm just going to read out what I've written here and talk it through a little bit. So we're asking about this because we want to know about the show or performance that you want to perform at the festival. We've got some prompts for the kinds of things that we would like to hear about. So what is the show or performance about? What happens in the show or performance? Does it have a story, for example? What might physically be happening on the stage? What kind of people might like to watch this show or performance? And is the show or performance finished already? Will it be finished before the festival, or will you be aiming to do a work in progress show or performance? And again, that is absolutely fine if that's the case. We are not expecting to program a full set of works that are complete and like tour ready. We're very happy to program works in progress and things that are still under development. This is not an exhaustive list of prompts. If there's other information that you want to include or things that you think would be more exciting or interesting for us to read about, please do include those. These are just a list of suggested ideas for how you can shape your answer. The next long form question is, how will your show reflect the themes and provocations of the festival? So we're asking that because we want to choose shows and performances that are directly related to the social model of disability or to the provocations that are available on our website. And we will also circulate the link to them later. We want to make sure that the work we're programming is specific to this festival, rather than being work that perhaps engages with disability lightly, or which has disability as a sort of add-on or bonus to a show, rather than being a core feature. So we're really interested in how your work ties into the themes of the festival. Some prompts for this response. And again, as with the previous one, you don't have to respond to all of these prompts. You don't have to respond to any of them. You can respond however you want to. But the suggested prompts are, how are you exploring disability in your show or performance? Are there particular provocations that you found interesting or relevant to your show or performance? And do you have a personal opinion about the social model of disability? And is that explored in your show or performance? We do also, on our website, I should have said, have links that explain what the social model of disability is. It's not an incredibly widely known term, but you can look it up. And again, if you're confused, please get in touch with us. The final few questions are about how your show will be accessible. So the first one is a short form question, which is just a yes or no dropdown. And the question is this show created and or led by disabled artists? And we're asking that because we want to choose shows or performances that are made by and with disabled people. So if there are disabled people involved in making the show, you should select yes. And if there are no disabled people involved in making the show, you should select no. And I should say that it's very unlikely that we would program a show that said no to that question. We want this to be a festival that is created by and with disabled people. The final longer form question is, how will your show be accessible to audiences? So we're asking that because we want you to think about accessibility from the beginning with your show or performance. We want access to be a core feature rather than something that is thought about right at the end of the process, which often results in a less satisfying experience for disabled audiences. We are not expecting you to be experts. It's absolutely fine to say that you want to do things, but you don't know how, or to not know the exact technical language for what you want to do. We can help you explore the access features that you want to include in your performance. Some of our prompts for this section. What makes you feel, let me restart that. What makes you, the person applying, feel comfortable as an audience member? And how could you provide this for your audience? Would you like to use interpreters, captions, or other ways of communicating with your audience? Will the show include access features, or will those be provided separately? For example, will performers use BSL within the show or performance, or would a BSL interpreter stand at the side and interpret the show? Our final question is another short one, and it's just, which venue would you prefer to perform at? So you have a choice of Sheffield or London, and there's no benefit or disadvantage to either option. We'll be programming an even number of shows across both venues. So again, this template will be shared with you after this Zoom call, so you don't need to write everything down that I've been saying, and hopefully it'll be useful to you in trying to shape the answers to our application questions. I've just turned off the screen sharing. I'm now going to hand back over to Esther.
Great, and just for the late recording, my name is Esther. I have short brown hair and a full fringe. I'm going to briefly talk about our support in your applications. We want to make it as easy as possible for everyone to apply. So if there is something that would make it easier for you, don't hesitate to get in contact with us. Our contact details, mine and Miranda's emails, will be shared with you in the email as well. It can include things like a video talk, support from an interpreter or an access worker, or even to visit one of our venues to meet us in person. It could include personalized reminders of the application deadline or sending you a physical application form. So yeah, let us know if there's anything that we can support you with in this application. There are some other opportunities that Deli is offering too, which may help support the development of your show. One is for our Shift and Space summer season. Shift and Space is a free performance opportunity in our London venue, which includes marketing support and 100% of the box office, providing you the opportunity to develop your work using feedback from an audience. We provide we provide space for 2 sharings of your work over one weekend, one on a Friday night and one on a Saturday night. And you have space all day Friday and Saturday to work, absorb and reflect, and use Friday's sharing to shift on a Saturday. The applications for this are now open, and this will also be sent in the post-workshop email too. And this, for our summer season, we are also able to offer technician support during the day and the option of a £250 advance payment. If you want to find out more about Shift and Space, do get in contact with myself as well. The application for Shift and Space is really simple as well. It's just a few key contact questions and 2 larger questions, just exploring more about the project and why the opportunity is important to development of your piece. This might be useful if you might not feel that you're ready by November, or if you want to use a space to help develop your show.
I can also talk about an opportunity that we have in Sheffield, which is kind of at the other end of the development process. So in Sheffield, our venue here is slightly bigger in terms of performance space than the venue in London. We have a 120-seater studio space, which we are programming for the rest of this year. So it's an opportunity to get in touch with me in Sheffield. And again, we will circulate contact details on how to do that. If you have a show that you think is at a performance ready stage, or maybe that has already been performed somewhere, that you'd like to bring to our venue, we'd love to hear from you. We generally program 3 to 12 months in advance. And the best way to get in touch is to email sheffield@theatredeli.co.uk. Again, we will circulate that information. In general, when people get in touch with us, we look for a few little bits of key information that just let us know whether it's technically feasible to have your show with us. So that's generally just what the show is called, what it's about, who the audience is, and what the technical and financial requirements are. If that's not something that you're comfortable putting together, please still do get in touch and we can have a conversation rather than you having to write it down in advance. When you do get in touch, I'll generally reply via email within a week. I try to be quicker, but I get a lot of emails. And then we'll arrange either an in-person or Zoom call if that works for you to talk about it. That's kind of at the end of everything that we prepared to talk about. So luckily, this gives us plenty of time for Q&A. So we do ask that if you have any questions, please do not drop them into the general chat because that can be difficult for anyone using a screen reader. Please instead DM us, personal message us on Zoom using the chat feature. You can do that by hitting chat at the bottom of your screen. And then at the bottom where you can type a message, you should see, for me, it's a blue box that says everyone. If you hit that, you'll see a drop-down menu with all of the people in this Zoom chat, and you can select either Esther or myself, and that will send a message just to us. If you're happy with no, I take that back. I was about to say the opposite of what I just said. Please message them to us personally and we'll read them out and respond to them. Equally, if you want to just raise your hand, either virtually or physically, feel free to do that and we will answer your questions. Go for it. Phil, I see you.
Hello. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you.
Yeah.
I've got a question about I use a support worker at the moment. I'm in a wheelchair and I study at Sheffield Hallam and I use a support worker. I would want to use a support worker if I was successful, you know. I was just wondering about the insurance implications because I would like to use my own support worker. I work with the support worker all the time, so we've got like an understanding. The support worker is part of my work as well. Is that doable? Is there any problems there? You say?
I don't think there would be any problem because the way it would work financially is that we would give you the money for your support worker, and then you would continue to pay them in the way that you normally do. So the relationship would still be with you rather than between us and the support worker. Okay. So no, that would not be a problem and we'd be happy to support that.
Awesome, that's great. Thank you very much. Thank you.
I have a question from Catherine Webb. It says, is this opportunity open to neurodivergent people?
Yes, is the short answer.
Yeah.
We would absolutely love to receive applications from neurodivergent people. Yes, we include that in our definition of disability. I also have a question from Malcolm, who says, how long do the pieces of work need to be? And then secondly, will we be able to help them find actors for the piece? So in answer to how long do the pieces need to be, there isn't really a limit on this. We're open to all of the pieces that you might have to present. I would say longer than 2 hours might be a push, just in terms of audience attention. And shorter than 20 minutes might also be a little difficult. But if that is something that is really crucial to your work, being either very short or very long, these do still apply and we can think about different ways to present that work. For example, with a shorter piece, we could do it multiple times in a day, or with a longer piece, we could look at having it earlier in the day so that it didn't run too late at night. In answer to the second question about finding actors for the pieces, that's not something that we would be able to help with, although we could share call outs on social media, as in if you were to put something out yourselves, we could reshare it, but we aren't able to actually help you cast your show.
I have a question from Jess Fulton. It says, what does the access support allowance of 1K cover? Can this cover creative enabler fees as well as their accommodation and travel? Are we able to send additional supporting materials such as artwork, songs, scenes alongside our application? The second one, yes, absolutely.
The first one, I would say that if having a creative enabler is an access feature for you, if you need it to make your work, then yeah, absolutely, we would cover that as part of the 1K fund. Again, oh, I'm sorry, Miranza, would you be able to mute yourself? what was I saying? Oh, yes. And if you do need them to travel in order to work with you, then yes, covering their travel and accommodation would be part of that fund. We really want that fund to cover anything that will make it easy and comfortable for you to make your work. So whatever that might be. I have a question from Lona, which is about both venues. Are the lighting desks and positions wheelchair accessible? And are our lighting bars droppable? So I know that in Sheffield, our lighting desk is wheelchair accessible. I would have to get back to you on the question of whether our lighting bars are droppable. But we do have a very good technical manager here, Kira, who would be very happy to help you and can respond to that kind of question. Lona, if you would be willing to send me an email using the contact details that will circulate after this Zoom, I will try to get back to you on that technical question.
The same with London too. I will need to get back to you. I have two questions from Joanna. For the social model festival, could it be a rehearsed reading that is presented?
Yes. If it is a sharing that an audience can attend and that people can watch or participate in, then yeah, we'd love to have it. A rehearsed reading is absolutely fine.
And the second question is for Shift and Space. Is Shift and Space for disabled people and non-disabled people? Yes, it is open to everyone, but we are asking that each show has at least one mode of accessibility within their performances, whatever that might be.
I have a question from Jacqueline, who asks, I have a carer, would it be possible to cover her expenses with me coming up to the venue and doing the show? Yes, absolutely. In the same model as the creative enabler, if it's something that will enable you to create your show and put on work, then yeah, we would cover that out of the 1K access fund. And again, to reiterate, that's 1K per show or performance, not across the entire festival.
I have a question from Michelle. Are you open to children's theatre? Our work is aimed at neurodivergent children. Would it be possible to have an afternoon performance rather than an evening performance?
Yes. A lot of the answers to these questions are yes, which is nice. Yes, we would love that. We're very interested in work for children and families. Thank you. I don't have any questions coming in right now, Esther.
I have another one. John, if the show has already been performed, would it be helpful to send the script/video recording in, or will the suitability be judged on what is written on the application?
So we want to judge it based on what's written in the application, because that creates a level playing field for everyone applying. So there's no need to send additional materials. We'll just work from what's in the application form. Tim, I see your hand. Yeah, feel free, people. You don't have to send things in chat if you prefer to just raise your hand. That's also fine. Go ahead, Tim. We can't hear you.
How about now?
Yes.
Great. So this is a follow-up to the how long should a show be question. Is there any scope for durational works, such as doing a performance for the entire duration of the festival in a different room?
In Sheffield, I can say that we would definitely think about it, yes. We have a limited number of spaces here. There's a main space and then 3 additional rooms. So we wouldn't be able to program an entire festival of durational work that needed its own room. But yes, we would still want to see that application, absolutely. I think Esther can probably reply better about London.
I think it's more or less the same, yeah, but I think submit it anyway.
Great, thank you.
No worries. I have a question from Lucy. Is there any restriction on the form of the shows? Absolutely not. We're excited to see all different forms, including live video or dance too. That would be fantastic. And the second half is, do you have access to technology such as a screen and camera. We do, and we also will be can do the shows hybrid, to do a live hybrid show too.
I have a related question which has come in from Gabriel, which says the performance will be, we've said that the performances will be hybrid and live streamed and that we will support that. So will the camera for live streaming be provided? And the answer to that is yes.
Yes.
We will provide the technical equipment needed to live stream. Gabriel has also asked how much advertising or promoting of the performances themselves will be handled by Deli. So we're really excited about the Social Model Festival, and we will be pushing it really hard across all of our social media platforms, our email lists, physically in our venues with posters and programs and flyers. Obviously, the festival will include multiple performances, so the marketing won't necessarily be targeted to specifically your show. But if you yourself want to do separate promotion that is more specifically about your show, then we will amplify that on our social media channels. So we would retweet, reshare anything that you put out yourselves. Hopefully that answers the question. But this will, overall, the festival be a massive focus for us here at Theatre Deli.
I'm not getting any more.
Cool. I have another one.
Great.
I have one from Jess who says, you won't have your full creative team and cast confirmed by the time you apply. Is that a problem? Although our team won't yet be fully confirmed, our team is going to be led by disabled creatives. That's fine. You don't need to have your entire team and creatives confirmed at this point, or your full cast. It's great to hear that you want to be led by disabled creatives though. And if you don't have that team yet, but you still tick the yes box, we would expect that to be followed through on. So it wouldn't be okay to say yes and then actually have a fully non-disabled creative team.
Tim?
Thanks. You said that there's going to be a live stream of each show. Would it be possible to do, if you had a show that you wanted to adapt in a different way from just live streaming footage of it, if you wanted to create, say, a pre-recorded digital version that was more suited to the medium, would that be okay?
I think so. We haven't thought about that, is the real answer.
Yeah.
I can't think why not, because the intention with live streaming is to make sure that audiences don't have to be in the venue in order to see the work. So I think that would be fine, yes.
And we also in London, we have projectors and things around the building that could potentially be a part of that too.
Great, thank you.
You have one, Esther?
Yes. So Catherine asks, is there anything off limits regarding horror elements such as blood? I would say.
We would need to talk about it from an insurance perspective. But broadly speaking, no.
I think
Sounds
anything
cool and
would
funky.
have to have sort of triggers or
Yes.
explanations before the show to audience members.
And that applies for all shows, not just ones that are explicitly horror themed.
Yeah.
I realized we should also have said, by the way, if you feel like you've received all the information you need from this Zoom, please don't feel you have to stick around for the rest of the Q&A. But equally do, if you're interested. I'm just going to read out an online question and then Phil, I see your hand is up. I have a question from Zoyanda who asks, what about performances that are primarily designed for online rather than for an in-person audience with an online element? So for things that are designed for online, I think it might be more appropriate to get in touch with us later in the year. We are looking at other programming around the festival, so not just these shows and performances. We'll have installations, online work, visual art, and things like that. And that might be a better fit. However, Esther David Ralph, who is also on this call, is our executive director. David or Esther, if you have a different opinion, feel free to overrule me.
No different opinion from me.
I would just say, sorry, hello everyone. I would just say if you've got a full idea for how it would work in the context of the festival, why not tell us that, why not tell us in the context of a application at this stage? If you've got the kind of wherewithal to make an application, that would be great. But yeah, I think we are primarily interested in things that can be in person and also online, but that we're also excited to hear all of the various different projects you've all got in mind and go from there.
Phil, you had your hand up.
Hi. I've got a question, and I think I've already answered it myself. But I just want to run it by you. What about the scope for site-specific work in the city of Sheffield? I understand the insurance implications, etc., but is that possible? Or is it a different thing?
I think it's a different thing. If you have site-specific work you're interested in, please do get in touch with me separately. I'm the producer in Sheffield, but I think for this festival, we're looking for work that's within our buildings.
Yeah, no problem. I understand. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Anything, Asta?
No, not. Oh, yes.
Oh, okay. I have some too.
Joanna asks, is Theatre Deli led by disabled people, or has disabled people involved in leadership? Will disabled people be assessing applications? In brackets, this isn't a challenge.
It's absolutely fine for that to be a challenge.
Yeah, totally.
So the short answer is yes. So the festival is being curated by Caroline, who is also on this call, wearing a very fetching red hat. And Caroline is disabled herself. I'm also a disabled woman, and will be involved in making the decisions. The panel will be made up of disabled and non-disabled people though. So it's not exclusively disabled people making the programming decisions. Hopefully that answered the question.
I've got two questions, both related to audience participation. One asks, will audience participation be encouraged in the shows? And the other one is, would shows with audience participatory elements be considered? To both, it's totally up to you. We are accepting applications on any range of audience participation, from full-on immersive to not at all. So it's completely up to you.
I have a couple of questions on my end. One from Malcolm, which says, of the £2,000 fee, so again, to recap, that's £2,000 for each show performance company that we program. Could some of that be used to work on creating the script from the idea you submit, or is it just to cover the performance logistics / costs? So the £2,000 fee is for you to do whatever you want with. Some people might use it to pay themselves or the other creatives or actors involved in the show. Some people might use it to pay for set or props or any other physical stuff that they want. Some people might use it to, as you say, work on the script. That's completely in your control, and we encourage you to use it however is most useful to you. I also have another question from Gabe. Please don't apologize for questions. That's the whole point. It's great. This says, if you wanted, could you have a Q&A / feedback session at the end of the performance? Yes, absolutely. We would love that.
I have one asking if you can propose more than one idea, obviously only one potentially getting picked.
Good question.
Yeah,
about it.
not something we've considered.
I think yes. Looking to see if anyone involved is shaking their head. I'm seeing nodding from Caroline.
Caroline, yes.
Yes, you can. As you say, with this question, only one performance or show would be selected. But yeah, if you have multiple ideas, I don't see why not. I have a question from Zayanda who asks, is this Arts Council funded? Yes, it is.
Joanna asks about the fee. Is it expected that if we are paying people other than ourselves, we use industry rates? I would say yes.
Yeah, I would say follow best practice on that where you can. Obviously, we know that a £2,000 fee isn't going to cover a cast of 9 working for 6 weeks, for example. But we hope that it will go towards the costs and can be used as match funding, etc. If you want to go for additional funding. That said, I should clarify, we will not be monitoring your expenditure or asking you to justify how you've spent the money. So it will be up to your own decisions.
Could I just say something in addition to that? Sorry, I'm David again. I'm a white beardy man with glasses. I just wanted to say that one of the things that we would that we've built in to the schedule is time for some projects to potentially do some additional fundraising. We'd like a real variety of things involved in the festival, from shows that perhaps already exist in some fashion or that are coming into kind of a production ready position, or things that are sort of work in progresses, and those will require different funding levels, and so we imagine that some people will want to go on and do some additional fundraising, and that's why we're looking at this time in the year, so that there is going to be hopefully a quite quick turnaround in terms of programming, so that then people can go and look elsewhere. Maybe that is to the Arts Council, or maybe it's to other funders to support that work. That's not a requirement, but we wanted to build in that possibility because we expect that some people will want to do that to support their show, both for the festival and perhaps beyond it or around it.
I've had a reminder from Caroline, which is very apt, that we haven't mentioned that intersectional work is particularly welcome for this festival. So we want to hear from disabled people of colour, trans and LGBT plus disabled people, people who perhaps are immigrants or don't have citizenship in this country and are disabled and are making work. We don't want this to be a festival of just white disabled people talking about themselves. So intersectionality is really important to us. I don't have any further questions at the moment.
I have 2 more. When/where could we find out more about other forms of art you might be interested in? Just to clarify that question, is that regarding this festival?
It might be regarding what I said about looking for other work within the festival as well as the performances.
Yeah.
Oh
yes, it is. Yeah.
Great. More information about that will come out later in the year. At the moment, we're very focused on getting these 8 shows or performances programmed. And then once we know the shape of that, we'll use that to inform what other work we're looking for. So do keep your eyes out on our social media and our website later in the year.
Joanna has asked, is it likely Arts Council will provide additional funding if they are funding this, and can we provide support with fundraising ideas?
Sorry, I'll jump in if that's okay. I think that it is probably unlikely that the Arts Council would fund solely for this festival additionally, because they're already supporting it. But they may well be interested in supporting a project which is going to be part of this festival and then has a future life elsewhere, or to support the development of the work as well as the presentation of it at this festival. So there are definitely some ways into, I think, further Arts Council funding, although I can't obviously guarantee that. And we can certainly support with fundraising in terms of doing some sort of strategizing with you and looking over applications. We probably also need to be honest about our capacity, and we will not be able to write applications and submit them on behalf of 8 different companies, but certainly we want to be available to support and to to help realize each of the pieces as best as possible.
I would also say, from my point of view, if that is something you would like support with, whether as part of this festival or not, we run something called virtual Deli drop-ins, which some of you are probably aware of already. But every Thursday, you can book a half-hour slot. There are 2 available, with myself, Esther, David, and Daljinder, who's the executive producer here in Sheffield. And that's a slot that's open to anybody. You can sign up and you can have a chat with us, and we will try and help you out with any aspect of creating shows or theatre or your own careers or anything else. So that's a really good starting point to get in touch with us and start those conversations. And those are bookable on our website, I should say.
I can also include that in the email after this as well, to make it easier. Does anyone have any more questions for us?
Let's just give it a minute so that people can collect their thoughts in case something occurs.
We appreciate that there has been a lot of information spoken today. So as we've said, if you have questions or if there is something that you need from us, please do email us. Catherine asks, are there any staging or tech limitations?
You want to talk about London first, or shall I talk about Sheffield?
You go first. You go.
So in Sheffield, broadly speaking, we have what you would expect of a studio theatre. So we have a full lighting rig, we have a PA, we have a stage which has wheelchair access, ramp access. We have a projector. If you are selected, we can share our full tech spec with you and make sure that your show will work in our space. But broadly speaking, we should be fine. That does mainly apply to our main space. So if you're thinking about work that might go into a smaller space, for example, the durational work that Tim mentioned earlier, there would be a more limited tech setup in there. We would always do our best to make sure that what you need is accounted for, but we can't rig a different room, for example. But we would be able to move a PA in. But yeah, the main space here has a large playing area. It's 6 meters wide, and a raised stage.
For London, we have 2 smaller studio spaces that have a full lighting rig and PA, but also we will induct everyone to the space so that the technicians can use the space to its full ability too.
I have a question from Taylor, who asks, do we have existing links to schools or groups for potential workshops relating to the Performance Project Festival? So here in Sheffield, we do. We find it currently a little bit tricky to get engagement from teachers because they are busy and on strike often. But we would certainly try and help if your show was targeted towards schools, because we want this to be a success as much as you do, basically. So we would try and target schools-related performances to schools. It's essentially, I can't promise, that we would try our best.
Squid asks, will the accepted shows be part of a program with the other accepted shows? So will several shows be programmed together as one event on the same evening? So no, they'll be across 2 weeks, 1 week in Sheffield and 1 week in London. So not all on one evening or one day.
Yeah, it'll be 1 per evening.
Yeah.
Any more final questions? Tim?
I realise it's important that the work responds to the provocations and is about the social model of disability. To what extent is it important that the content focuses on disability? For example, if you had a show that was creatively accessible, like a Ramp on the Moon show, if you've seen those, but like one of their shows when they did the government inspector, that's not a show about disability, but they did it in a very disabled, positive way. Is that approach welcome?
Yes. In general, I would say that we are more looking for work which is specifically about disability or responses to disability. But if you are making a show which is heavily accessible and works with disabled creatives, then we do also want to hear about that. I realize that's a slightly both sides answer. And honestly, a lot of that kind of thing will come out in the programming. Okay, it looks like we might be out of questions, unless anyone has anything pressing right at the last minute. Again, this is not a be-all and end-all of your questions. If you do think of something 5 minutes after this Zoom ends, you are absolutely welcome to get in touch with us and we'll answer you separately.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you everyone for joining us today.